Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com. This is episode 2 of my video series on street photography. And in this episode, we're going to actually go out in the street and take some pictures. Now, I'm currently driving to a neighborhood in Buffalo called the Elmwood Village. It's currently going through some gentrification, but it's still a very eclectic part of Buffalo. There's a lot of different types of people there. You're going to see business people and college students and bohemians and artists and people from all different walks of life. So it makes for some very interesting street images. Now, once I get there and park, I'll go over my camera settings. Right now, though, I just want to tell you what I look for when I start to go out. I go out and I'm street shooting, what I'm looking for. And the answer is nothing. I take that from the great photographer Jay Mizell. And he goes street shooting. He's in his 80s now, and he's still out street shooting. And he says that he goes out empty. And what he means by that is he doesn't want to get any preconceived ideas of what he should look for and what he wants to get for an image, because that will cause him to miss opportunities. He'll overlook things because he's looking for something specific. And I really agree with that. I really believe you really have to go out empty. You have to be open to anything that unfolds before you. Now, in general, I like to look for geometric patterns. I like to look for specific types of color contrast. I like to look for interesting people above all. If I could find interesting people in interesting situations, that would make for the best type of shot. But again, go out empty, go out without any preconceived notion like you're gonna get a lady walking past that purple wall with the graffiti in the corner, stuff like that. Don't think like that. Just go out and let it all come to you. And I think you'll really find that your street images will improve. So when I get there, I'll park and then we'll go over the camera settings. Okay, I parked the car and I'm ready to get out and do some shooting. So I'm gonna just go over some of the camera settings and why I use what I use real quick. I'm using my Fujifilm X-T1 with the 23mm f/1.4 lens. This is the setup I usually use when I go out street shooting. It's the combo I like to use. Now, the camera itself, I have an aperture priority mode, and I like to shoot between f8 and f11. Now, it's very bright today, so I'll probably be at f11 most of the time. And if I do change my aperture, I'll tell you why I'm changing it while we're out shooting. I have my ISO at 800. Now, that might sound like it's incredibly high for a bright day like it is today. Well, it is, but I often get asked, why don't you use auto ISO? Well, auto ISO just adds another unknown into the equation. I really don't know what my ISO will be on any given shot, and I won't know what my shutter speed will be on any given shot. This way, I know my ISO is 800 on every shot. And I'm pretty sure that my shutter speed, because it's so bright, will be 1/500th of a second or higher. Many times it's probably going to be over 1/1000th of a second. I really want a fast shutter speed, because when people are moving and stuff, you'd be surprised how much they blur, even if you're at 1/250th or 1/125th of a second. So you really want to use as fast a shutter speed as possible. I want to be in aperture priority mode because I want to be at f8, f11 to give me enough depth of field, just in case I miss focus a little bit, which happens sometimes in street photography. Speaking of focus, I'm in spot focus mode, and I'm in spot metering mode. So I'm going to focus on a single spot and meter on a single spot. I have the switch on the front, which on a Fuji is manual, continuous, or single focus mode. I have it in manual focus mode, but I'm not manually focusing. All that does on the Fuji X-T1 is it means when I press the shutter in, the camera's not going to try to grab focus at all. I have to focus with the back button. So I back button focus, and then I could take the picture without worry that the camera's going to try to refocus on me. The reason why I like to do that is I often will focus on a spot. So I'll focus on a specific spot and I'll stay in one spot. And when someone walks into that zone, I could just press the shutter and I know the camera's not going to try to focus again. It's going to just take the picture. And I'm usually in single shot mode, so I just fire off one shot. Every now and then I might put it in continuous. More specific when that happens is when maybe I have an interesting building or wall and there's a number of people walking in front, and I'll just fire off a bunch of shots. And I like to look for the best one, the best combination of people with their best stride. And what I mean by that is typically you want to take a picture when someone is walking or running. You don't want to take their picture where their legs are together or one leg's up in the air. You want their legs like in full stride like that, with both feet on or very, very near the ground. That usually looks the best. So that's what you're looking for. So sometimes when you have a lot of people walking around, putting it in like a high-speed continuous mode, you're more apt to get that, you know, that type of shot. So I will do that once in a while, and if I do it today, I'll let you know why. Now, as far as clothing, you typically want to wear something inconspicuous, something dark, black if possible. I'm wearing just dark blue today. I do have a gray shirt on, but it's very warm, but I wear a hoodie, partly because it's dark, but partly because I have this chest harness that I'm going to be putting the GoPro on, and it will help obscure the chest harness a little bit. And I'm still going to be pretty conspicuous walking around and talking. So who knows what will happen, but we'll see. Hopefully I'll get some decent shots. So we're going to wrap it up with that in the car. I'm going to turn off the camera now, put it on my chest harness, and we'll go out and take some pictures. Oh, I forgot to mention that I do use a lens hood. And in my car I have this multi-fiber cloth. I have a rocket blaster I use to dust off the lens before I start off. And I also have a lens pen in here somewhere. I don't really need it right now, though the lens is clean enough. And I carry with me a spare battery and for the camera, and I also have a spare battery for the GoPro, but that's beside the point. And I have some business cards on me just in case anyone asks me what I'm doing. And that's it, really. I'm ready to roll finally. So let's get out and do some shooting. Okay, one of my concerns as I walk around is light. I want to know which way the light is coming, what direction it's coming from. I would prefer that my subjects are front lit. Right now I'm walking into the light, so if I took any picture of anyone right now, I'd be taking them backlit, which is not optimum. So I'm going to have to position myself so I get better lighting on my subjects. These switch boxes in Buffalo or in the Elmwood Village are very interesting. Most of them are painted and they make for some interesting shots. So I kind of like to stand by one and pre-focus on a spot, which would be down on the sidewalk right where people would be crossing, and try to get people walking past the switch box. So what I'm doing is I'm focusing actually right on the curb, there's a white line down there, and that's where I'm getting a pre-focus from. And then I just hold the camera right up to my face. A lot of people are intimidated to take a picture of someone in the street, and I agree that it can be intimidating and daunting to do. But the best advice I could give you is to just try it and just keep practicing it and do it, and after a while your fears will subside. There's some people dining up here at the Lexington Co-op. Let's take some pictures here. Couple dudes dining here.
Mexican restaurant here.
That's no problem.
Here. Let's see here. Get that toys in there and see if someone will walk by. Really kind of a boring shot. What you'll find when you're street shooting is you'll miss a lot of shots. And a good point just happened to me just now. I was looking at this wall here, waiting for someone to come in front of it, and I missed a very interesting man riding his bike, and just very interesting features. He had a huge beard, and because I was concentrating on getting a specific shot, I missed a shot that just unfolded right in front of me. So that's really important that you do as Jay Mizell says, and you just go out empty.
Hey guys, you can see we're back in the car and heading home. I decided to pack it in. Some days just don't seem to work, and today definitely wasn't working. A couple things got me off my game. First, I was wearing this hoodie, and the reason why I was wearing the hoodie I mentioned earlier, to help hide this harness I'm wearing for the GoPro on my chest. And in doing so, it's pretty warm out today, and I was very warm as I was walking around, so it kind of was distracting being so warm. That's one thing. The other thing was the light. Now, it's really bright out, and usually that's not too big of a problem when you're out shooting street shots. You could get some very interesting shots when it's very bright out, particularly if you're utilizing the dark areas, shade, contrasting that with the light. Today, though, the way the light was situated, as I walked south on Elmwood Avenue, everyone was directly backlit, and that doesn't make for a great shot. So people that are facing me where I want to take the picture of them front on, they're going to be backlit. If I walk north on Elmwood Avenue, they're front lit, which is perfect, but the sky is really high and there's barely a cloud in the sky. So because of that, it's super bright. The light is reflecting all over the place, off the windows of the buildings, off the cars. So everyone is squinting. So as they're walking towards me, I have a lot of people squinting. Doesn't make for a great shot either. So the light wasn't working out. When it's really, really bright like this, it would be much better to go out later in the day. Elmwood Village gets a great happy hour dinner crowd. That would probably be the best time to go down there when it's really bright out. And we're definitely going to revisit the Elmwood Village in a future episode. Now, before I sign off, I just want to talk about one more thing about what I shoot and don't shoot. I don't shoot children at all. I don't take any pictures of children at all. Today's day and age, everyone's very protective, and that's fine. My wife and I were very protective of our 3 sons, and I probably wouldn't want some strange person taking their picture. So I don't take pictures of children. Also, I mentioned before, I don't take pictures of homeless people or people with any type of disability, be it physical or mental disability. I won't take their picture at all. I just don't think that's right. Finally, I did take one photograph today of a young girl, like maybe in her 20s. And usually I won't do that either, unless they're maybe in a larger group. The reason being, it makes them feel uncomfortable, and I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. If you're a young girl, like 20-something years old, 20, 22, even, whatever, and you're out on a warm summer day, you're wearing shorts, a tank top, and some 50-something-year-old guy is putting his camera up, taking a picture of you. That is disconcerting. So I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. So I usually won't take any pictures like that. There were a lot of opportunities to take those pictures today. There were a lot of young people, you know, out, sitting out, enjoying a coffee or something like that. I did take the one. She was inside the building behind the glass, and she didn't see me, I don't think. So I took the picture. Now that leads into another thing. I often hear street photography experts, and they're really experts, I'm not mocking them, talk about that the length of the lens is directly proportional to the creepiness factor of a street photographer. Meaning, if you use a really long lens, you're much more creepy than someone who uses a shorter lens. And I don't agree with that at all. Street photography on its own is creepy. It's just creepy. We're out there taking pictures of total strangers we don't know. And whether or not you're using a 23mm like I am today, and you're getting pretty close to people taking a picture, or maybe you're holding your camera at your hip and you're taking pictures without them knowing it, I mean, it doesn't get much creepier than that, in my mind. You have a long lens, you're not in their face, they don't even know you're there. To me, that's less creepy, in my opinion. Now, to me, that's more difficult. It's really hard to use a long zoom lens on the street. We will talk about that and do that in a future episode, because I think it is important. It helps give you a different look to your street shots. And I've mentioned before that typically today, people complain that street photography tends to all look alike. And I contend it all looks alike because we're all using similar angles of view. We're all using, on crop sensor cameras, like between 23 and 35mm, or on full frame cameras, we're using 35 to 50mm. And it gives us that similar angle of view, and that is a similar angle of view that we actually see the world in. So everything tends to get monotonous. We're seeing the same angle of view. So it's interesting to change it up a little bit and use a zoom lens, shoot at, 120mm or 200mm even. Jay Mizell, who I mentioned earlier, he goes out with a full frame camera and a Nikon 28 to 300 lens. And, he takes great images. So I just wanted to mention that I just disagree with that notion that the longer the lens you use, it increases the creepiness factor. I just don't agree with that at all. And I'll say it again, that street photography in and itself is creepy. It's just creepy. And that's the way it is. That's my feelings on that. So I apologize you had to sit through this lousy episode 2. I definitely will strive to make sure that no episode is this bad again. And if you have any questions, anything you want me to cover in future episodes, please leave it in the description below, and in a future episode I'll talk about it. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.